What's up, my dude? So Windham just came out with his new gameplay video on Supercross 3, the official video game, the whole compound on it, and this is probably the biggest actual gameplay video we've seen anywhere thus far on Supercross 3. It's actually like a really long, full-blown gameplay video. It's not just little clips. It's not just little shits. It's actually the full deal. It'd be like me, like riding around on the compound of MXGP Pro, just like this, but on Supercross 3. That's exactly what his video is that he just uploaded. So if you don't know, Windham, he's basically the biggest motocross gaming YouTuber out there right now. He's got 100,000 subs. So I'm guessing he's getting like super deals with, Milestone, and really, I couldn't imagine them giving that much gameplay that early on something like that to anybody else. I feel like Windham is definitely the one and only dude that's going to get that kind of opportunity, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it really reveals a lot of how Supercross 3 is going to be, personally, I think. So I had to come in here and make a video on this. I know it's kind of weird me making a video on another YouTuber's video, and it's like I'm not going to show his gameplay in here because I'm not going to, just strip his gameplay like that. But yeah, I'm just saying, if you want to go see that video, you can see that on Windham's channel. It's just, compound gameplay on Supercross 3. So yeah, but I really wanted to come in here and talk about this because it's really important, talking about the way the physics look and everything about it seems to be on there. So let me just say this, okay? I know I've been talking about how I'm really excited about the new physics. Seems like they've really stripped down and tried to do something different with the physics in Supercross 3 and really making it something new and its own thing and more free and all this kind of stuff. You guys know I'm really excited about it. So let me just say this, okay? Are the physics, do they look really like janky and like a damn mobile game? Does the animations look really weird? Yes, and yes. All of those things are true about this Supercross 3's gameplay. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Yes, it does look kind of goofy and weird looking when you compare it to some of these other Milestone games. Sort of looks like they don't really have their animations down properly. It's kind of just, I don't know, there's just something about the way it looks more like a mobile game to me, like Supercross 3. But what I will say is, does it still have me super excited and super hyped up and super ready to see what they're going to do with it? Also, yes, to that as well. And I know it's not going to really make any sense to some of you guys. Some of you guys that aren't really understanding what I'm saying here, okay? I'm over here saying, oh, it's going to be, I'm really excited. It could be really good. They're really going to start changing the physics. And I'm also coming in here saying, hey, man, the physics look really kind of janky. The, animations look weird. It looks super like a mobile game. Looks really kind of bizarre. It's kind of weird how I'm saying both things. But what I think is going on here is the physics are kind of in a transitional stage right now, okay? And that's why it looks so goofy and weird. And this is something I've been kind of mentioning in some of my other videos, is I don't want people to jump the gun and just instantly want to kind of write off this new Supercross 3's physics and think they're terrible and think they're just never going to work and all this, because they're literally in a transition stage, okay? You can just see it. You can see it. It's like they're in that transitional period from basically their standard Milestone physics systems they've had since their very first game, the first MXGP game. They basically had the same physics system since the very beginning, like 5-6 years ago, right? And now that they're really stripping that down for the first time and trying to do something different, it's going to look weird at first, right? It's going to look bizarre at first because they're in that transitional period, and this is the hardest part of it all. And, I'm not trying to sit here and just, oh my God, like not seeing what it actually looks like or not stating the facts of it and all that because I'm super trying to defend that they're, really trying to change the physics and all that. Listen, I'm sitting here telling you straight up, it looks super weird, super janky, super arcadey, like a mobile game. It looks really bizarre. The animations look kind of like the writer's got a super stick up his ass or something. I don't really know. The animations look super weird in that, Wyndham's compound gameplay. Everything about it just looks a little bizarre. And to the naked eye, to somebody that doesn't really understand motocross games and doesn't understand the full scope and scale of everything, they're just going to look at that like, oh, well, that looks terrible. The first Supercross game was better. Just go back to the first Supercross game. Like you've seen in quite a few comments out here from some of these people that's seen some of this newer Supercross gameplay. The first thought they want to have is just go back to the first Supercross game, and they're not getting the whole, it's a transitional period, bro. This is going to take time, okay? When Milestone's never done this whole stripping their physics all the way down before type thing. They've never even done that before. So you guys have never even seen, Milestone is basically just taken what they've had from their game before and then just scraped on the top layer of it and then just barely tweaked on it, right? But now that they've totally stripped it down, trying to really make something different, it's not just going to automatically look amazing, okay? A lot of you dudes that are trying to, act like, go back to the first Supercross game, oh, it's be so much better, look how terrible that new Supercross 3 gameplay looks, look how weird the animations are and all this kind of stuff. Listen, I'm agreeing with you. It looks weird. It looks kind of bizarre. It looks like a mobile game. It's kind of weird, the whips are a little bizarre looking. Doing the backflip kind of looks a little like not finished and polished yet. It's because they're in a transitional period, okay? You've got to... That's what I'm getting at whenever I say things like, this Supercross 3 game might not be the full-blown new physics that we're kind of expecting. It might be more of a in-the-middle transitional period of getting those new full-blown free milestone physics, right? Like I'm getting at, it may be, and this is what I said in a few other videos, it may be Supercross 4 or 5 before we really get that full-blown, what we're all really wanting in these milestone games, the full-blown air physics, the inertia to the bike, and the whole 9 yards. It may take a little more time to do that. But yeah, it's kind of like this weird mixture. Supercross 3 really looks like a bizarre mixture between like Supercross 2, MX versus ATV All Out, and like MXGP Pro. I don't really know exactly how to explain it. It looks pretty bizarre, but it's more about how it feels and how it looks. See what I'm saying? You never want to forget that. And that's my biggest problem I've always had with these milestone games. They might look decent, but they don't really feel as good as they look. These milestone games have never really felt as good as they've looked to me, right? They'll go in there and sharpen up their animations and do all these little on the top layer patches to their games and make it pretty it up a little bit, right? But really, it's just a dog turd when you get a little deeper into it and you start digging into it and realizing there is absolutely zero inertia, really no freeness to the in air, and no, that actual do any kind of whip you want to and not just hitting a button and playing an animation. You start to get deeper into the milestone games and realize how critical the flaws really have been in their games this whole time. Even though it looks good, the graphics look good, and that's how they trick a lot of you guys that don't really understand motocross games, and they're giving you this eye candy, so it's making everything seem better than what it really is. It's making everything seem better, but really, when you understand physics and you've played enough Reflex, you've played enough MX Simulator, you've played enough of all these other arcade motocross games, you do this shit for real, you can feel the flaws in these milestone games, in the feeling of it, the physics of it, the way the bike actually feels, the gameplay, right? And so that's my biggest point to this whole video. Don't freak out when you see some of this new Supercross 3 Wyndham's compound gameplay, and it could be like a mobile game, and everything looks a little weird, like it just looks different, kind of looks like a different game, right? You're going to have to give them a little bit of time to polish that up and really do that, because they're still making 2 games a year, right? It ain't like, oh, hey, guys, we're stripping our physics completely down. And then also we're going to just making one game a year, or one game every 2 years, right? If they did that, then you would get that full new physics system exactly how it's supposed to be, totally polished, completely finished, and boom, here you go. But what's happening is the fact that they're still making 2 games a year. Now they're in this brand new physics transitional period, and so your Supercross 3 seems to be like it's going to be this weird in the middle between trying to make this new physics system, but it's not like totally polished yet. It's not totally finished yet. So, but I just don't want that to cause this negative outcry and uproar about it all. And just so let's just go back to the first Supercross game, or let's just go back to the original milestone physics. That's the one thing I don't want to have happen with all of this, because they're really just in a transitional period. It's not the final new physics product. You understand what I'm saying? They're not really there yet, and you could just see that in the gameplay. But other than that, I mean, the compound looks decent. I don't know. It's just going to be a kind of a different experience, which is refreshing with a milestone game. No matter what that is, it's at this point, it's refreshing to at least have something a little bit different. And I know a lot of you guys kind of go down that road of, well, if it's worse, if it's not good, then I don't want it to be different, or if it's not as good as the first game, then I don't want different. If it's not good, then I don't want different. Well, you're not getting anywhere with those original milestone physics. I'm just telling you. You got to strip them down eventually. So it's better to do it now than later, is what I'm getting at. It's better to kind of take a little bit of a hit, and have this first Supercross game be a little weird, little janky, little like, non-polished physics system, to be able to then get that super amazing legendary game with Supercross 4 or Supercross 5, right? You got to look at it long term, guys. There's so many of you casual arcade dudes out there that are looking at this situation so short term, and you're just so like, you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're just seeing it like, oh, those physics look so much worse than, like Supercross 2 or Supercross 1 or whatever, so let's just go back to that, right? Before you've ever even played the game. It's just like, bro, you're going to have to, and even if you get the game and play it, and you still are kind of getting those opinions, you're still going to have to give it more time, because they didn't even have enough time to really do this whole new physics thing to the maximum level that they need to do it, and to the polished level that they need to have it on, like I really think it needs to be for everyone to be super impressed by it, and really pull all those, like the first Supercross game fans over to this new physics feel. It's going to take another game or two. I just have that feeling like it's, Supercross 3 is not really going to be that. And I even said that, back in that video of Supercross 3 could be amazing, Supercross 3 could be good or whatever, like the first gameplay on Supercross 3 or whatever, or the physics video I made on Supercross 3. I said all that in that. It may take a few games to really get this whole new dug down physics system to the level it needs to be at. So either way, it was kind of interesting seeing the backflips. They're just a little bit bizarre. I don't know. They definitely need a little bit of work to them. I saw a little bit of the whips on there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just the whole bike itself kind of has it's like they tried to create a more free movement system, so it's kind of got more of this like MX versus ATV all-out flair to it, but in turn, it kind of creates more of a mobile game look in a sense. You know what I mean? Because you got to keep some of the realism. Like, it's that balance between having, freedom but restriction. That balance of having movement but not too much movement. Like, there's definitely a balance to it, and you kind of saw with All Out, they kind of went a little bit too all out with it, and then it starts to look more like a mobile game than a real, like reflex type arcade motocross game. Kind of just looks like more of a mobile game when you're doing, 4 backflips over a 30-foot jump, or you're doing these you're whipping it so far backwards, and then it just starts to not even look real. You still got to keep this certain little kiss of realism to it. Even though it is an arcade motocross game, you still got to keep a little bit of realism to it, but not have the restriction that these Milestone games have had in this hit a button playing animation with the whips on the jumps and the basically no inertia. It's got to have that movement and that that arcadey movement to it, but you don't want to push it so far that it's like a mobile game. It starts to become like a mobile game, and you're starting to see that sort of issue. I know we always talk about, hashtag free the whips and all that, make the physics more free and everything. And that is true, but there's kind of a point there where you can take it to a level to where it starts to sort of backfire in a sense. And so it's just going to be a bit of a balancing act, I feel like, with Milestone right now and the Supercross 3 game, and they're just going to have to polish on it and get those animations better, or the rider doesn't look like, it almost looks like you still have the same rider from MXGP 2019 or Supercross 2 or whatever, but then you've just taken that rider model and plopped it down on a whole new set of physics, so then the rider's animations doesn't really match up with the physics of the bike, and it makes it look kind of weird and janky and unfinished and unpolished, and it gives it even more of that mobile game look, and it kind of seems to have a little bit of that not connected to the ground as much as it should be. All Out kind of went with that, kind of had that issue a little bit. So just a couple of things I think they're going to need to really improve on to, it's a balancing act, man. That's really all there is to say to it. To give you a better example, it almost seems like they're mixing All Out with the Milestone physics, when in reality they should be mixing Reflex with the Milestone physics. You see what I'm kind of getting at? So, it may take the next MX versus ATV game to come out and then make, MX versus ATV THQ Nordic make that game a lot more like Reflex, like everybody wants, and then them be able to share more of that with Milestone, and then Milestone eventually be able to implement more of an actual Reflex feel and physics system to, their Supercross 4, 5, or MXGP 20 or MXGP 2021 or whatever, right? So it may take that before they can really get to that point. I don't know, but it's pretty much apparent at this point that MX versus ATV is kind of sharing knowledge or having an input on the physics or whatever. I don't really know how you can deny. I know some of you dudes are still kind of in this realm of denial, and you don't really think MX vs ATV has got a part in this Supercross 3 game, but pretty for sure they do, dog. For Milestone to change the physics that much, and then the physics look that similar to what All Out looks like, it literally looks like you mixed All Out with MXGP 2019 or Supercross 2. That's what Supercross 3 looks like right now. And it's kind of created this little weird jambalaya mess of things. Me kind of talking about how it's like they still have the rider model from the Milestone games, but then you're kind of plopping it down on All Out physics on the bikes, and it kind of looks weird. It's kind of like you've got this weird dimensional, you're mixing two worlds together, and they got to start smoothing those rough edges a little bit, and that connection between both worlds. They've got to make that transition and everything a lot smoother than it is currently, and then I think you're going to get what you want. But yeah, there's my little video on that, seeing the full new gameplay. I don't know how long Windham's video is on that. It's probably at least 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes or something. It's a solid little hunk of gameplay. So if you're kind of, yeah, but I just think it's going to be one of the things. It's going to be the easy thing to do is just say how terrible it looks and how janky it looks, and oh my God, it's going to be so bad, and it looks like a mobile game. That's the easy thing to say, right? But if you start really using a little more of your brain and start knowing how all these Milestone games have been and realizing they're finally changing something and advancing something, you start to realize they're in a transitional period, and it's just going to take some time. And that's really, I'm trying to look at this in a bigger picture sense, and really not jumping the gun just to hate on Milestone, and really thinking about it deeper, and so that's where I'm at on it, guys. It's funny to see a lot of the Milestone faithful, kind of jumping the gun to hate on it. And, a lot of people think I'm like this Milestone hater, and I'm not jumping the gun to hate on it, because I see the future, bro. The tea sipper, the predictor, you know what it is, dog. So either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Definitely give me a little nugget down below in the comments. Let me know what you guys thought about it. That new compound gameplay on Windham's channel. Kind of crazy that he got that much gameplay that early. Damn, he's able to pull some strings over there or something. I don't know. That's insane, dude. We're still like, 2 months out till the game comes out, and he's got like the biggest, even Milestone on YouTube hasn't posted that much gameplay anywhere. They are literally like putting their entire stock into Windham's YouTube channel right now. It's actually insane. No telling what kind of deals they got going on. You know what I'm getting at. So I don't know. Hopefully Windham can, keep an honest opinion when he really goes in there and is able to review the game and all that. Hopefully he can really give an honest opinion and not having to sugarcoat because of how much he's being supported and basically sponsored by. I really hope he's still able to kind of speak his mind and say whatever he wants to say, and I hope he does that, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. You guys know I'm going to say what the fuck's up. You guys know. You know what it is, dog. When Supercross 3 comes out, I will say whatever. See, I don't have anything in the back of my mind that's like, well, I gotta hate on it, or I've gotta not hate on it and sugarcoat. There is none of that. I'm just gonna say it, tell it like it is, what I'm feeling on it and how I think it all is once I actually get the controller in my hands, and try to give you guys the most honest, real opinion on it, and that's all I can do. So either way, catch you boys on the next video. Later, dudes.